guys, Reaganite71 here along with Mrs. Reaganite, and it is time to make some pizza sauce, or actually we've made it. Now we're going to can it. This is looking really good over here. It's all up to temperature and all of that. We've been taste testing along the way. The next step as far as canning goes is we're bringing our jars up to a boil. We're getting that water heated. Now, we always get more ready than what we think we'll need. We've got 6 quarts and a pint in the middle, just in case, because we definitely don't want to run out of jars once we get to the point where we're putting it in. Now, I've got my jars. They're all sterilized now. You want to do this in a good rolling boil of hot water for at least 2 to 3 minutes, and this is after I've washed them in the dishwasher, by the way. Over here, I've got my lids and my bands. They are simmering but not boiling in really hot water, and the only reason we're doing this, because we've already washed them, is we want to heat up those wax rings so that we get a really good seal when we go to make our do our canning. And so we get everything nice and hot. The tomato sauce, the pizza sauce has been over here simmering, and it's good and hot. Never want to put something cool or room temperature into a super hot jar, or the other way around. You want them to match up. So we've got hot sauce for hot jars, and our lids and rings are ready. So let's get filling them up. I've got 6 quarts, and I've got a 7th jar, which is a pint, just to make sure that I've got enough jars ready to go. I think I've got about 8 bands and lids also. Always want to have more ready than what you think you will need. But I'm going to be extremely careful as I take these out, because this is super hot, and I guarantee you it'll burn you bad. We're going to take these out though now and set them over off to the side. And because all of these jars were full of water, the water is going to be displaced once we fill the jars with tomato sauce. I'm going to take another pot, and I'm going to scoop some of this water out, because we're only going to want about 1 inch or 2 of water over the tops of the jars. Okay, I've got my jars out, I've got my sauce out. The one other thing that I'm going to do, well, in a minute I'm going to bring the pan with the lids and rings over, and I'll set them down right next to the jars. That way I can do everything right here and then take them back over the canner. Now, you either need to put lemon juice in the jars or citric acid. Now, I'm going to use citric acid here because you're not going to get that lemony taste to your pizza sauce that way. But we'll use that, and it calls for either a 1/4 teaspoon for a pint jar or a 1/2 teaspoon for your quarts. And so I've got a 1/2 teaspoon measure here, and we'll start putting that in to each jar. Make sure it's level. And so I'm going to put a 1/4 teaspoon in the pint jar. If you're going to do a lot of canning, I highly recommend you get a utensil kit. I've actually got a link up to bulk canning at Reaganite71.blogspot.com, my daily blog, and they've got a neat little discount. If you click on the bulk canning link to their fresh preserving website, you'll find all kinds of stuff, including the blue book, utensil kits like this, and all kinds of things. And if you order, I think it's like $75 in canning supplies, and that could be anything off of their site. You get a $10 off discount, so that's not a bad deal. But now it's time to fill them up. And with that beautiful pizza sauce. Mrs. Reaganite really outdid herself. There's 2. And what we want to do is we want a 1/2 inch of headspace. One of the neat, this is used to remove bubbles, but it also has measuring here for your headspace. And we can see that a 1/2 inch is right there. Yeah, and a 1/2 inch of headspace on the quart jars is right to that top, the rim, the first rim on the bottom of the neck. So that's what we're aiming for here. We're going to fill these jars up, and then we'll use that air bubble tool and headspace clearance tool to Make sure all of our air bubbles are out. And this can be a very messy process. Now we've got 5 quarts here. I had 6 ready, but in looking at what I have left here in the pot, I'm not so sure that I can get another quart. That's why it's always better to be prepared than sorry. So what I'm going to do is finish off with a pint jar. So basically I'll be canning 5 quarts and a pint. If I have any left over, I might just have to make me a little pizza tonight. Oh, that'd be a real shame, wouldn't it? All those tomatoes out of the garden from our previous video. Let me show you what I got left over here. Just enough to make a couple of hamburger bun pizzas, I think. At this point, we're going to take our bubble remover and we're just going to go around the jar about 2 to 3 times of each jar, making sure there's no air bubbles left in there. And if any come out and the amount drops, we can add a little bit to it in order to get it up to the ring there. Now the next thing that we're going to do is wipe around our screw tops and on the top rim to make sure that we're not getting any, we won't have anything there that will interfere with the seal of the wax rings of the lids. Also, one of the things you want to do is make sure that there are no chips, especially if you're using used glasses that maybe you've run through the dishwasher, what have you. Make sure there's no chips or anything like that. Everything's nice and smooth and cleaned off and ready to seal up good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is just take our lid and rings. Hot. That's hot stuff there. Position our lid on there, and the screw band will actually line it up for you. So you just need to get it on there approximate. And only finger tight, nothing mad dog there. And now we're ready to set them up in our canner. Now when you go to set these down in the water, the temperature of your water is going to drop a bit, so be prepared for that. I'm actually going to put this pint jar in the center here. We're going to can these for 35 minutes for the pint, 40 minutes for the quarts. And what I'm going to do is I've got 2 timers in here. I'm going to set one for that pint jar at 35 minutes, and then our quarts will go off at 40. One other thing that I have done here, and notice that I'm separating these so that we've got some space in between each of our jars. One other thing that I've done is I've pulled some water out of the main canner. I've got some on reserve right there that's boiling in case I need to add some more. But hopefully it's just right, but I may need to take out a little more water. And nope, I need to add. We want 1 to 2 inches above it. Took out too much earlier. So here we go. We'll add the water and get them up over the lids. Now we've got it over all of the lids. We're good to go there. The temperature actually dropped once we set it down in there. The rolling boil stopped because the jars sucked up some of that heat. Once it gets back up to a rolling boil, that's when we're going to start our time. We're going to go 35 minutes on the pint, and then we're going to go 40 for our other jars. And then once that's done, we're going to pull the rack up, let them sit for about 5 minutes, and then we'll set them off to the side and leave them for 24 hours. Well, I just got my timer started on the water bath canner, and I had just enough to do 4 hamburger bun pizzas here. This is so simple. You just take and dab a little bit of sauce on there. And then you throw you some mozzarella on top of that. Like so. And then you grab you some pepperonis. That cheese will hook onto the pepperonis and hold them there. And boom, you got you a quick little midnight snack. In my case, almost midnight. And basically all I do with this is I'll put them in the oven for, about 6 or 7 minutes at 375. And then I take a look at it. If the cheese is melting good, which it should be, then I'll turn the broiler on and I'll brown the top. Kind of toast those pepperonis a little bit. And it's a really neat, quick little pizza snack. And there we go. Well, about 8 or 9 minutes at 375. Another minute and a half or so on the broiler. And this is what you wind up with. Yummy hamburger slice pizzas. Dandy. That's going to be something to eat. Okay, time's up for the pint jar, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that out now. No, I'm not. That lowers the that lowers the water level. We're going to leave them all in for 40 minutes. That's what we're going to do. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to add some more water, it looks like. I got another 5 minutes to go here. All right, our time is up, and it's time to pull these bad boys out. Open this away from us here. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is pull the rack up and get them up out of the water. I'm going to let them sit for a few minutes, and then we'll move them into our position where they're going to sit for about 24 hours to let them cool, and we'll get all of our pops out of the way and all of that, and then they're already trying to pop. Look at that. I want to leave about 2 inches in between each one to allow them to cool properly. These will be nice and out of the way here. And I can leave them alone and not mess with them for 24 hours. As the heat in the jar cools down, that expanded air is going to come out through the wax seals on the top. And you can see that air is coming out. It's going to suck all of that air out. Any air that's actually in the jar is going to come out. And the lids will go concave and get nice and stiff. And we'll have a good seal there. Right here you see a jar that we actually canned a few weeks ago. And there's no sponginess. We did this back on the 7th of July. No sponginess in the lid. Got one of those nice My Own labels for the top of the thing, for the pizza sauce. But that's what it'll look like. And in 24 hours, you want to make sure and put the date on there and what it is. Hello. There's a pop right there. Put the date on, write down what it is, so that, you know, if you have tomato juice, stewed tomatoes, whatever, you can keep it separated. But folks, that's it. That's all there is to canning homemade pizza sauce. Reaganite71, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.